fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Deluxe Class Origin Autobot Jazz from the Transformers Buzzworthy Bumblebee line from Hasbro. So the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line very rarely has anything to do with Bumblebee anymore, but it is the exclusive line for Target stores here in the US, and Origin Autobot Jazz is part of that. Really nice artwork of his alt mode here on the front, although you can tell it was definitely made for like the legacy style of packaging, and honestly feels a little out of place here. I just think it looks a little weird. And then we have the standard picks that we always have for Buzzworthy Bumblebee of Megatron, Optimus, RC, and then Bumblebee's giant head here in the lower corner. Up here we have the Legacy Evolution logo, because like I said, it does feel like it should really be part of that line. Nothing really going on the bottom, and then we have some nice artwork of Jazz over here on this side. And we have the classic plastic-free packaging, so you have like a window with an even smaller window, so you can see just the tiniest little square of Jazz. And then on the back we have some nice product shots of both the robot mode and the vehicle mode. And then the Evo Fusion gimmick is that you can plug the little harpoon piece into the gun. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. Let's get Origin Autobot Jazz out of the packaging here so we can take a closer look. So here's Origin Jazz out of the packaging. He just looks phenomenal. I think they did such a good job with this. I mean, taking his robot mode, which clearly looks like it's going to turn into a Porsche, and making it actually turn into the Cybertronian alt mode is pretty cool. I think that's just a really nice feat of engineering. And the robot mode looks good. I mean, yes, there are definitely some pieces here on the back. You can tell the giant spoiler and everything. But I feel like the backpack compresses pretty well. It's not too ridiculous. Doesn't really hinder any of his articulation or anything like that. And from the front, it just looks like G1 Jazz. I think they did a really nice job there. I mean, that's something that when they were doing the cartoon back in '84, obviously they just didn't want to invest in alternate-looking robot mode designs for the 5 minutes they were going to be on Cybertron. So they had one thing transform into something completely different because it's animation, it's easy to do. Trying to replicate that in physical form is the challenge, and I think they've done a really nice job here. We have some nice paint applications down here on the shins. I think the feet are actually painted as well. I'm not 100% sure what color they were originally done in, but they just don't look like they were made out of gray plastic. Like, all of that looks like paint. I'm going to guess that they're black underneath, but I don't know that. Obviously, there's a lot of blue here in the alt mode that we'll see in a little bit. The chest is very nicely done. This kind of faux Porsche chest, I think they did a really great job with. And what they actually did, it is a clear piece of translucent blue plastic that they painted, which works well for the headlights. I think that looks really cool. And then you have the blue here with the Autobot symbol. That all looks really sharp. The red stripe down here on the bottom all works really well. The head sculpt is amazing. The blue paint for the visor, the silver paint for the face, just the general design all looks really, really good. Some gray paint down here for the abdomen. So just all in all, I mean, they really went all out for this one, and I really appreciate it because he really came out fantastic. Articulation-wise, the head is on a swivel. I think it's actually a ball joint. Yeah, here we go. So you can look up a little bit, you can look down a little bit. Can't you rock to side barely. Turn side to side, no problem there. You have a hinge about that far. And of course a swivel there for the shoulder. We have a bicep swivel. It actually goes back a little bit past the normal elbow range because of the transformation. And then I would say just your basic 90 there for the elbow. I don't think we have anything in the wrist now because they flip into the forearm for transformation. We do have a waist swivel here. That works well. You can kick decently out to the far. It does hit into the backpack ever so slightly, but you still get a good range of motion there. Kick really far forward. Kick decently far back. Backpack really doesn't get in the way. Got a thigh swivel there. Pretty much 90 degrees there in the knee, maybe slightly less. And then you do have an ankle tilt here, as you can see, and the toe can move forward and back because of the transformation. I will warn, though, that this one, for me, keeps trying to pop out. But you just kind of have to push it back in. Especially when I'm transforming it, this is obviously going to rotate down. And then when I'm rotating it back up, you know, it's just the kind of... But see, it almost looks like it's a little warped. See how that's kind of like popping out to the side? So I'm not really sure what that's about. It works fine, and the other one's kind of similar. I think maybe it's just molded that way. but sometimes these will pop out and you just kind of have to push them back in. It's just the kind of, you know, two pieces with a little tab and then the indent on this piece so that it just pops in there. But it is prone to popping out. I actually had a couple pieces pop out on me. That was popping out. The chest piece popped out at one point. The doors that are inside the legs here when I was transforming, like you can see the hinge right there. The nice thing is they all pop back on very simply, but just in case they do pop off, if there's any kind of like tolerance, they're meant to not break. They're meant to pop off so you can pop them back on. But yeah, all in all, he looks great. He does come with 2 accessories. So he's got his classic gun here, which we can pop into his hand, and that looks pretty good. He also comes with this kind of grapple piece. Now, this was also shown in that More Than Meets the Eye 3-parter, but I think it was in episode 2 when they eventually get to Earth and Prime's in the ocean floating somehow, and he throws this to Prime to grab a hold, and the little like anchor pops out and he grabs onto the line. But basically how this can work is you can rotate the arm around like this, and then you just peg this into the spot. Because in the first 3-parter, they had a lot of powers where like their hands would retract and they'd have all kinds of different things pop out, like the grappling gun. I think Ironhide had some kind of like coolant dispense, all kinds of stuff. So they didn't really make it long past the first 3-parter when they were still kind of finding their way. But anyway, you can shoot the grappling hook out, so you can do that. You can take this piece, and I will say that this bottom piece does tend to get stuck in. It's a little bit more difficult to get out, but not impossible. So for the Evo Fusion gimmick, you can either attach the grappling piece directly to the end of the gun, or, as the directions show, you would attach it to this winch piece and then attach it. So whatever you like, you can do that. I don't really see the need to do that, especially when it clips onto the arm. I would say that would be a better Evo Fusion gimmick, to just show it connecting to his arm, but they show it connecting to the gun, which again, it is possible. Definitely not needed or necessary, but it is possible. But yeah, overall, honestly, I just think this is a really fantastic looking figure, and the alt mode is so much fun. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is remove the gun from his hand and then place the accessories off to the side. We can take the fists and rotate them into the forearms like so. And then we're going to take this and just kind of straighten these out for now. We are going to rotate the head around 180 degrees. And then we are going to unhook the chest plate here. And that's on an extra hinge so that we can lift this straight up like this. This back section is going to kind of rock back so that we can lift this up like that. Then we're going to want to bring in the arms like this, but we have to rotate them at the bicep like this, so that this kind of like back elbow piece is facing forward before you rotate them in. So now they're facing in together. And then you want to kind of tilt these back just a little bit, pretty much as far as they'll go, so that they're kind of just like hinged out like that for now. At that point, you can bring this back, and you can see how this will kind of rotate around. Now you have to be careful because this piece is all done in translucent blue plastic and then painted white. This piece is solid here, solid white plastic with some really nice blue paint here on the front. But as you're rotating this back, there's kind of a little clearance issue. So you can kind of see how these pieces are, and you just need to be careful when you're swiveling this back, and it can be a little tricky. I got the other side really easily. Here, let me... There we go. So you hear it click, and that's not great, but there's not much you can do about it. I have seen some people just like file this ever so slightly, just so that it clears a little better. That's up to you. I don't want to do that, but it will click into place. And at this point, you can bring this up, and there's actually, it'll be kind of hard to see, but there is a little spot inside there, you can see where those two white pieces are. And this tab is going to tab into that. So if we bring this down, and this will, I think that's tabbed in there. Did that go in? Yeah, that should be in like that. Then we're going to come to these pieces here. If you have the ankles tilted, now see again, you can see this doesn't want to kind of push in all the way, and it's because that was up a little bit. So rotate these down like so, and they'll go in like that. Then you're going to grab a hold of this whole piece here, and this is going to flip up. And you want to make sure that this has enough space for the door to clear. So you kind of have to bend it past a little bit, and then that'll clear that. And then the directions are not super clear about this, but what you need to do is you need to condense the leg down a little bit. So there is the tiniest little tab right there, which is going to rock back and tab into that spot right there. So when this comes back, and then you can kind of bend this like this, and that will condense like that. So that's what it'll look like when you're done. And then you can close this and snap that into place like that. Because otherwise you'll never get this close enough to peg in together with everything else. So again, we open this up, make sure we have enough clearance for the door, then collapse the leg down, push that in, close that up, and then we can peg these together. Come on now. Okay, it's really giving me the business here. There we go. And then kind of leave the doors out. And then you can see that there's two hooks here, so we have to kind of lift this up. And then this part is always a little weird to me, but you kind of have to like push this in. It doesn't seem like it wants to go, but it will. And then we're going to drop the arms down, so it'll probably be really difficult to show this, but you can see that there's a tiny little tab right there that's actually on like the top of the kneecap, and that's going to peg into that spot right here. So you kind of drop the arms down and peg those in. That way when you close the doors, this piece will go into this piece on the forearm, and then this tab will tuck underneath. So pop that in. And then just kind of click it all together. Let me zoom out here. And there we go. We have Origin Jazz in his vehicle mode. I absolutely love the look of this. I mean, this thing is absolutely perfect. It's so compact and tiny, and it looks so accurate to the show. It's just kind of amazing that anything could transform into this, as tiny as this is. The Autobot symbol here looks perfect. I love all of the blue and silver paint here on the front. Nice blue stripe here along the back. And one thing I did forget to point out, you can see that there's a peg hole right there. And as you're transforming this, I don't know if I can get this in after the fact, but this piece can store in there. There we go. So you can store that underneath, and then you can just go ahead and put the gun in this spot on top if you'd like to store that there. But yeah, I love this. I just think this is such a fun alt mode. It looks like it leapt right out of the cartoon. I mean, I feel like when someone drew this back in '84, they never expected a physical version of this to actually be able to turn into a robot. And the fact that they were able to do this is just so magical to me. And just so perfectly done. And then just for fun, here is the Origin Bumblebee. Now, I know a lot of people have had problems with yellowing oddly on this over the years, but I mean, the yellows were never perfect. They never matched up 100%, but mine, knock on wood, is still fairly decent. So I love both of these. I think Jazz takes it, though. I think his alt mode is just so absolutely perfect. And I really, really hope that they do a Wheeljack to complete the trio, because Just absolutely fantastic. I just think this figure is absolutely fantastic. The alt mode is so perfect. I absolutely love it. It is spot on to that original 80s cartoon design, and the fact that they actually made it transform into a fantastic looking robot is mind-boggling to me. It's nothing short of magic. I just think he looks amazing in both modes. The paint applications look great. The accessories are good. The head sculpt is amazing. The fake little Porsche chest is really well done. Just everything about this guy is great. If I had to complain about anything, I would just say be careful with some of the pieces popping off while you're transforming them, but it's really not a big deal because you can pop them right back on, so just be a little careful with those tolerances. And also with this backpack piece, when you have to fit this down over this area, just be careful with it because I don't want the translucent plastic to break and you have to kind of like clearance pass a little bit before it clicks into place. So as long as you're just careful with a couple of those things, he's really perfect. I just think they did such an amazing job, and like I said, it still boggles my mind how much they nailed that alt mode, and it's just so perfect. And the fact that it can transform into this really excellent looking Jazz figure is just mind-boggling to me. So this is one I definitely recommend checking out, especially if you already have the Origin Bumblebee, because they look great together. And fingers crossed that we get an Origin Wheeljack sometime soon. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.